starting out driving, I used to always wonder how exactly do you go about keeping the most efficient amount of power climbing up a hill in a truck. And on these Cats and Cummins and shit, on a normal truck motor, I don't know about the Detroits, you know, I come up with a system that kind of help people out a little bit. When you first start at the bottom of a hill and you say you're going to have to shift, there's no way around it. You do your first shift in such a manner to where as soon as you see them about down to 1500 if you can see the needle. You do your first shift to where when you get in gear, you end up not going over 2 grand, but not being under 18. So I'm about there. See, right there, I ended up at 19. So now, when you get up towards the top of the hill, you don't keep it up at a high RPM. When you got to keep the truck pulling. That's the main thing. Keep the son of a bitch pulling and don't be in neutral or clutching or dumb stuff. Keep the son of a bitch and motor under load, you know, and that keeps your momentum up. Now, as you get to the top of the hill, if you think you can climb the hill in the gear you're in, you can pull her all the way down to 1200. You know, but if you screw up and you have to shift after pulling it down to 1200, well, you done screwed up, you know. But anything down under, now as I'm cranking it up, I'll let him climb up there pretty good. And then make sure when it takes by to hold after next gear, you're not below 1400, because 1400 to 1600 is your sweet spot. And that's how you keep the most amount of juice flowing. Now I'll climb a couple more hills and I'll let you watch it, and I'll explain some of them how I'm thinking as I'm going up them. But this is just to help you say if you're wanting to make the best amount of, you know, put the torque to the ground the best you can and keep the power moving. I don't know how the hell to say it. You know what I'm saying? If you're like a green truck driver, you don't know, well, when do I shift exactly? You know, what exactly makes sense and where do I need my RPMs at? Now at the foot of the hill, I usually goose on it pretty good at the foot of the hill and give me some momentum down at the bottom when you're loaded. You know, when you're empty, hell, set the cruise, whatever, you know, you don't matter. But when you're loaded, I'll give her a little juice at the bottom of the hill to get a little bit of momentum, you know, to help you keep her up going up the hill. Which I think pretty much everybody does that anyways. As long as Johnny Law ain't around, you know. So we're getting ready to try this again. I ain't gonna show my speed in case somebody watches it and want to give me a ticket. But I'm goosed on her pretty good at the bottom. And then we're gonna start pulling down now. Now you can watch the gauge as it drops down. Now this hill's tricky, because this hill's one of them you can't decide whether to go ahead and lug it down to high gear or drop one. And we'll just see what happens. I'm about half the way up this little hill, and I'm getting down to my sweet spot. Now when it gets down to around 1500 RPMs, it's going to fight. That's where it's got its most fight. You know, it don't want to give up as easy there. But once you drop below 1400, it's going to head on down. And I'm almost to crest this sucker, and I think I can keep it going and not let it drop down to 1200, so I'm going to try it. I'm going to leave it in this gear and lug it over this hill. See, I'm just now passing 1300, so I'm still pulling, you know. And I'm now, yep, crested out at 1300. We made a good decision on this hill. Now the reason you lug it down towards the top of the hill is because if you take the time to downshift, you're cutting them up, you're cutting the power of the wheels to downshift it, and then when you get over the top of the hill, you're cutting the power of wheels again for an extended period of time to upshift it again. So towards the top of the hill, you kind of lug it over. But at the bottom of the hill, you keep your RPMs up. See that? Now I'm back up to 1400. Now I was going to build a fire and take off pulling again. Your sweet spot is 1400 to 1600. That's where the horsepower and torque makes its best. I ain't like a textbook oriented. 1400 to 1600, that's where your horsepower and your torque come together to get you what you need. And once you pass over 1600, it'll keep pulling, but it ain't pulling like it does down at 1500. And that's it. We done it on that one. In case anybody wondering what the speed limit is on this road, I ain't telling you. But it's the interstate. We'll do one more hill. This hill's another hill up here that's borderline shift or not shift. I'd like to go up a hill where it pulls down in the next gear up over it, where you can see what it's done. I'm not going to get to the foot of the hill. I'm going to cover this speed meter up. We're going to gouge on him just a little bit. Get a little juice at the bottom. Let that momentum, gravity push us down. We're taking the jake off and we're going to pour it on. Oh yeah, we're doing good. I don't know if we'll have to shift on this hill. And sorry about the shaking ass camera. That son of a bitchin' doodad that I bought ain't worth a plug nickel. Now here we go. We're getting ready to get up the top of the hill, and we're just now getting down to 1600. We're just now getting into the sweet spot. And hell, we're 2/3 of the way up the hill, so we'll let her just lug out and crawl over the hill. Dropping down to about 1400 now, and we're cresting the hill. So we stayed in the sweet spot climbing this hill, and that's the end of that.